Oh, summer. The energy, the messes, the endless snacks, and the screen time struggle is totally real. But what if screen time could actually build their faith and their minds? Living Scriptures Plus is a safe, faith-based streaming app with a full homeschool section, packed with educational shows that help kids grow in knowledge and testimony. Plus, your subscription helps bring the Line Upon Line series to life. So click the link below to sign up today. And this summer, stream with purpose with Living Scriptures Plus. Now enjoy this week's episode.
How do we know what's true? Is there a vote to decide? What if there's a vote to decide that gravity is no longer true, and the campaign is so good that 7 billion people vote for it? Would gravity stop working? Would the Earth's entire population just float away into space? Well, no. You see, truth is truth, and it's defined by God, the creator of the universe. The cool thing is we can learn the truth of all things by the power of the Holy Ghost. So, no, votes and popular opinion can never define ultimate truth, because it comes from God. In December 1831 in Ohio, the Lord instructed Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon to take a short break from the important work of the inspired translation of the Bible, because there were false stories being published and they needed to take time to teach the truth. If you remember, Ezra Booth and Simon's Ryder are stirring up trouble and publishing lies, deceiving the people in the surrounding community. Rigdon challenges Booth and Ryder to a public debate, but both men chicken out. So, Joseph and Sidney powerfully preach the truth in surrounding cities, and their inspired efforts help a ton to set the record straight. Now, while negative press about the church still continues today, deceiving millions, the Lord has promised in Section 71 that no weapon formed against the church will prosper. What a comforting promise. Sure, people still argue and fight against the church, publishing inaccurate, misleading, or horrible things on the internet and in newspapers. Satan and his armies try to assault the truth in many different ways. And while they may win some battles, they'll never win the war. Sure, these attacks can be scary, but they're really just full of hot air. Remember, God's promised that none of these attacks against His church will succeed. None of them will win, and Christ will ultimately triumph. So, since we know who wins, seems kind of like a no-brainer to choose which side we'll be on and take individual responsibility to study and seek the truth for ourselves. Okay, now Edward Partridge was serving as the presiding bishop of the church, but he's in Missouri, over 800 miles away from the saints in Ohio. So, the Lord needed to call another bishop to help with the law of consecration in the Kirtland area. But who? Enter Newell K. Whitney. He was born in Vermont in 1795 and, as a young man, fought in the War of 1812. After the war ended, he went to work and met Elizabeth Ann Smith, but her friends call her Anne. Let's have her tell the rest of the story in her own words.
As a salesman, Newell traveled through many states. One day, he passed through the country where my family resided, and he and I met by chance, fell in love, and were married. We settled in Kirtland, and Newell eventually went into business with Sidney Gilbert, running a store. My husband and I often discussed the subject of religion and whether or not there was a local church that we should join. One day, we discussed it way past bedtime, and finally around midnight knelt down together by the bed. As we were praying to the Father to be shown the way, the Spirit rested upon us and a cloud overshadowed the house. It was as though we were out of doors. The house passed away from our vision. We were wrapped in the cloud and felt the Spirit of the Lord. Then we heard a voice out of the cloud saying,
"Prepare ye to receive the word of the Lord, for it is coming."
Months later, 4 young missionaries from New York arrived and began teaching about a golden Bible. I went to hear what they had to say and to judge for myself. As I was listening, the Holy Ghost testified that what they taught was true. So I told my husband that I planned on being baptized. Naturally, he asked me to wait until he had had a chance to feel the same conviction. But I couldn't wait. I knew it was true. Fortunately, a few days later, my husband was also baptized. We were both so happy to have found the truth. A couple months later, a family came to Kirtland in a sleigh on a very cold winter's day. They drove straight up to my husband's store when a man jumped out, went in and called Newell by name. My husband replied,
"You have the advantage of me. I could not call you by name as you have me."
The man answered,
"I am Joseph the prophet. You have prayed me here. Now, what do you want of me?"
We later learned that Joseph had seen a vision of Newell and I pleading with the Lord for the prophet to come to Kirtland. We went outside to get Joseph's wife, Emma, who was 6 months pregnant with twins and very ill. My husband brought them directly to our own house where they stayed with us. And even though it was very crowded, we did all we could to make the Smiths comfortable. Sadly, Emma lost the twins at birth. But shortly thereafter, the Smiths were blessed to adopt the Murdoch twins, whose own mother had died giving birth. I loved and cared for Emma as my own sister. Years later, I was called as counselor to my beloved Emma in the very first Relief Society presidency. The next year, at a conference in Kirtland, Newell was shocked to be called as a bishop unto the church in this part of the Lord's vineyard. He worried that he couldn't do it and said to the prophet,
"I cannot see a bishop in myself, Brother Joseph, but if you say it's the Lord's will, I'll try."
The prophet kindly answered,
"You need not take my word alone. Go and ask Father for yourself."
My husband sincerely prayed and heard a voice from heaven saying,
"Thy strength is in me."
With that confirmation, he accepted the calling and cared for the poor and needy the rest of his life. Having found the truth, my husband and I served together in these inspired callings and received many blessings of the Lord.
Next time, we're going on a ride through the visions of eternity.
It takes a lot to make these videos, so to keep Line Upon Line free for everyone, consider signing up for Living Scriptures Plus. Check it out by clicking the link in the description below. And thanks for watching. This episode is packed with info, so you might want to watch it again to make sure you didn't miss anything, including the hilarious jokes. If you feel this video has helped you on your path towards truth and Christian discipleship, please subscribe and share. And most importantly, go read the scriptures for yourself.